On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. They say if you want to try to cook a lobster, one of the best ways to do it is to start with the water cold, put the lobster in the water, turn on the heat, and let it go. And what happens is the lobster gets comfortable, doesn't really realize it's starting to warm up, basically falls asleep, ends up getting cooked, never ever wakes up from its wonderful dream. It's essentially what's happened with us here in the United States and really the world, but the United States for sure. Q's making a lot of connections to one, point back some possible connections to this pandemic that we're experiencing right now, going back at least a year, and we've got some evidence to suggest that, but probably and possibly all the way back, of course, to presidential Trump becoming the president. They never thought he'd win, so again, November 4th, I think the whole entire world began to change for the Democratic Party. Now, a lot of things happened. Obviously, as Obama was heading on his way out, his exit interview was amazing, unheard of. The spying that he's now basically publicly has been declassed that he was doing against the Trump campaign. The fact that they were trying to pin things on Flynn before they even had a chance to transition the government. In fact, they were even hiding information that we'll find out from the transition team. Literally hiding secrets. So the connection between the way that there was a plot from day one after Trump became president, because again, never thought it could happen, to where we are today. And when you look at a number of the things that have happened throughout the years, and the causality and the connections to existing things today, the way that they kept investigating them, the impeachment, they brought it up even again today on the news, how they want to try to get more impeachment traction going, try to get that ball rolling once again. It's this continuation of craziness that Q is trying to help awaken the masses with, trying to help us all understand what it is that has been going on behind the scenes for a lot of years, frankly. But let's just focus on the immediate past. The Obama administration handing off to Trump. Let's at least start with there and see where it gets from us. Now we'll start where we left off with the last Q post, post 4281. We got some great Q posts in here, some really awesome information. So please stick with me because I think you're going to enjoy what I've got. If you like what I'm doing, I hope you please click the subscribe, click the thumbs up, like my videos. It helps actually get the videos up to more people. More people will watch them. And if you could do that, that's the biggest help you could possibly do. Put the bell notifications. I do a video a day. Generally will help notify you that that's happening. Now, one thing that's really cool about the game of chess, and if you haven't played the game of chess, this analogy is a little tougher to take, but if you've played the game a little bit, you have the concept of one, what the pieces do, two, the strategy, that there's a number of different ways you can play chess, that there's the 4-minute or 4-rule chess checkmate thing or 7 or whatever it is. There's a lot of different things that can happen, but in order for that to happen, someone's got to kind of open up, certain things got to move around. So chess is very interesting. So we're going to get to that. Hang tight. How about a nice game of chess, which is very funny. It feels to me like a war games scenario. How about a nice game of checkers, right? But objective, in the end, checkmate is what we're after, right? In the end, nailing the king is how you win the game, or at least putting the king in checkmate. Do you attack the king at the beginning of the game? Well, you kind of can't. The king's surrounded. He's protected. He's got all sorts of people around him. He's got a whole row of pawns in front of him that are willing to die at any moment. And then he's got his rooks, his bishops, his knights, and his very trusty, very loyal queen. Do you attack and remove pawns first? Do you get all of them? Do you get some of them? Do you get just enough to make an opening? Do you attack and remove bishops, rooks, knights next? How do you take down the people that were close to the king so you can actually get to the king? And is the game being played in public or private? Now, I think the point of this question is it's both. How much of this stuff is actually happening behind scenes? How many times, I wonder, that Trump texts Obama, right? From the White House phone or whatever, right? I don't know. I assume it's not his real phone, right? But how he texts Obama and just says, dude, seriously, it's coming for you, man. I can't believe the stuff you've done. You would almost have to wonder if there's some sort of communication. Because the guy, Obama, the writing's on the wall. It's not like you have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. So again, do emotions affect critical thinking? Yes, that's very true for anybody that's done any studies at all. Logical thinking and emotions, typically not good bedfellows. No, don't play well together at all. In fact, you'll make horrible decisions if emotion's what you use to guide yourself. Now, horrible from a logical standpoint, wonderful, because sometimes that's when you choose not to do harm to another, right? It's like my emotions got the better of me and I decided not to do a bad thing. So again, there's a place for everything, and I do believe keeping our neighbors in mind during these days is a good thing. Not everybody that's a Democrat's a horrible person. Remember that. The evil ones are like your Hillary Clintons and your John Podestas, and there's some very dark people on this planet. But your neighbor Joe or Bobby Sue or whoever the hell down the street, they're not. Even if they're a Democrat, they're not the enemy. It's important. King, control pieces, eliminate rogue elements. I was kind of wondering about this in relation to, they call it castling, where if you take the pieces between the rook and the king, you can move them. You can do this little fancy shifty thing. Not sure. I hope the Anons are doing more, and I'll dig into it some myself. How do you set the stage or the board regarding public opinion? How do you make it look like something's happening one way or another? A great one's Barr. Barr came out and basically said, hey, look, right now, as of now, whatever, we're not going to be going after Biden or Obama. As of now. First off, as of now, very important. But secondly, Trump comes out and just, I just disagree with the I disagree with Barr on this one. Well, yeah, okay, cool. Optics. Hello. Like, they can't just be like, so Trump just called me and said, hey, arrest him. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So I had nothing going on today. Cool. Right? It doesn't work like that. That's not how the game is played. So at this time, very important. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. A lot of good things are coming up. Chess is a powerful strategy game. Now, one of the things, and I don't want to beat this dead horse too much, but if you'll see, there's a whole slew of different cool things here, and all these are like different strategies. So based off the very first move that's made, a number of other moves strategize out. One of the things that's fun about chess, for anyone that's played it and been even sort of good at it, is you think multiple moves ahead. A lot of people have given Trump a lot of credit and said that he's got 5D chess going on here. And good on him. Trump is a very brilliant man, very high IQ individual. So I am quite sure there's a lot of that going on. He's also got brilliant people working with him. And there is this odd other set of like kind of astral love, I think, that's coming, that's helping too. That being said, there's strategies. You can move like one or two pawns up. You can pop a bishop out, give yourself angles. You can get your rooks out. You can get your horses out and let them start bouncing around, your knights. There's a lot of different things you can do. Some things they don't suggest. Don't put your queen out too early because it makes her a target early on, and she's a very valuable piece. So again, there's a lot of strategies that go into how chess is played. And so is there with this dance, this poetry, this chess game that we're playing with Trump, the deep state, and the public, as far as general Joe public like you and me, understanding what's actually going on. Post 4282, and they get a lot easier after this one, folks. This is the toughest slide out of all of them. But 4282, POTUS daily ingests these medicines to prevent the COVID-19. He talked about how he's taken the HCQ, the hydrochloroquine with the erythromycin, and probably zinc too. I think that's the remedy, right? The threesome. The FDA's actually approved it, I think, as of today to be used. So there's a lot of great things that are coming out around this, but there's a lot of questions that one should ask. And just the one question that comes to mind is, if something helps, if something benefits, if something does actually make a difference, I don't care if it's eating vitamin C, I don't care if it's if I eat broccoli every day, I don't care if it's if I mix cabbage and sweet potatoes and broccoli and some cumin, that I'm going to end up with this tincture that's going to make me feel better and save me from this and help my immune system, then what's wrong with sharing that if it's coming from actual studies? This is an anti-malaria drug that's been around for over 40 years, they say. For a long freaking time, more than a lot of us have been alive. I'm older than that, but whatever. These are the things that they're trying to point out to us. And Trump, by taking it, is trying to demonstrate, hey, look, people, one, it's not going to kill you. Two, it's protecting me, and I'm using it for that reason because there's all these nasty people around me, and they really, really, really want Trump to get sick. If Trump gets sick, and if Pence is sick like he is, then guess what? Nancy Pelosi is president if they can somehow say Trump is not fit for office. So no matter what, the dude could be walking around with like 1 quadrillion parts per million of COVID virus in his blood. And he's going to take the hydrochloroquine, and he's not going to tell anyone publicly that he's sick. But I guarantee he's going to walk around like Weekend at Bernie's. They'll start playing music in the background, and Trump will be like, burp, 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 right? And that's how it's going to play out. Whatever the case is, the dude cannot be sick right now. And so therefore, he's also doing that. Now, is he sick already? Is he not? Who knows? Who cares? Doesn't really matter. He's taking the stuff and he seems fine. He's always sinusy anyway, the way he talks. Pre-announcement. Tools, sources, data, COVID 1 and 2 analysis, etc., provided factually, and it challenged the narrative. That was one of the reasons why videos were blocked, removed, and everything else. And there's been a lot of Q posts that have showed a lot of this information. Full attack by the media on this particular substance. Why? Again, why? There's one study they've been able to cite, and it's a weird study. It's a VA study, I guess, where some people died. One study, one. Outside of that, there's a bunch of doctors that have tried it, a bunch of people that have brought people back from the edge, and this has worked for them. So why do they block it? Why is it not okay to talk about? Why does it seem like, and we're going to find out, that there's a push for a specific other drug, not this one that's already been out there that doesn't have a patent anymore, that's basically got generics available right now, that's cheap. No. Let's think about something else. Keep that in mind. It's coming. Why wouldn't the media, Dems, want to work on all fronts to find possible solutions? You know, something that immediately takes care of the problem, or instead they immediately dismiss what it is that's being brought to them. They try to find some sort of reason why it's bad. They got to cite some weird random study that kills people. Why doesn't the media, Democrats, want a pandemic or rearranged, I like this, by the way, this is a cool play on words, Dem panic, to slow stop. And by the way, if you take pandemic, right, and Dem panic, you might have already seen that. I thought that was very cool. I had to read it like 5 times. Dem panic to slow stop, right? They don't want people going back to work. They don't want the economy opening back up. Right now, all the experts are telling you the economy's never going to make it. Well, it's going to, but like in many, many, many months, probably well out into next year, way after the election. But the reality is, and probably going to be anyways, that the economy is actually going to do a lot better quickly because, as they've said, it's possibly going to be a little more V-shaped because jobs weren't lost because of attrition, because the economy slowed and halted by its own fruition or own bad design. No, the government said, nope, close your businesses, putting a big board on it. Well, there's still a demand. There was still a successful business. There was still a reason to keep waking up every day. So why doesn't the media want people to return to work? Why doesn't it want that to happen? Who benefits the most if we keep staying inside? One side tends to want to flood with fake money, wants to hide the problems they've got, who wants free handout money, this trillions of dollars Pelosi's trying to put, so like California and New York and some of these horribly managed states can have free money. Why does corporate media, Democrats, challenge, attack anyone who defies pushed coordinated narrative? Right? Anybody that says anything other than the, yes, that's right, what they say, versus, anything else, then you're instantly labeled an ism of some kind, or you're a conspiracy theorist, or any number of other things. Again, asking questions. Yes, I know that's annoying when your answers suck, but we're just asking questions. I'm not trying to make assertions. I'm not trying to make accusations or claims. I'm asking questions. Why are we blocking these things? Is it about the virus, or is it possibly about something else? And I think that's what a lot of us wonder. There seems to be a push. There seems to be an intention behind why they're not telling us these things. There seems to be an intelligence behind it, if you will. It doesn't seem to be as accidental as one might say. Now, the standard adage, and I think everybody's wise to always keep this in the back of your mind, just pop, 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 in the back of your head, is follow the money, right? There's always money involved. None of this stuff just happens willy-nilly. There's always money at involved. And of course, the stake in this particular case is the election, because whoever takes ownership of this next election decides the fate probably of mankind, but certainly of the United States, without trying to get overly dramatic. We got a new Q post too, by the way, so that's cool. We'll check that out at the end, guys. 4290 is the last one, so we got not too many to go, like I've told you, but everything is at stake. When does your enemy expend ammunition? Do you expend ammunition against a weak opponent? Do you expend ammunition against a non-threat? Critical thinking. That's one of the things that has been taken away from school, is critical thinking. Looking at what's happening and asking these questions. When would someone attack a cause Q, for example? If we're crazy flat earth theory freaks, then why attack us? You only attack something that's actually a threat, dangerous, scary, I'm worried about, could possibly spread, right? Do you expend ammunition against a weak opponent? Not as much. A weak opponent, you could probably either A, push into the direction you want to go, force into the direction you want to go, and or any number of other ways. You don't necessarily have to waste ammunition on a weak opponent. But what if that opponent's strong? What if that opponent's a threat? When do you use ammunition? You don't shoot down planes in World War II, right? Unless they were carrying bombs, right? If it was just something flying over, you probably weren't trying to take it down. But if it was carrying a torpedo, if it was carrying a bomb, you probably want to, drop it from the sky. Post 4284. Got a thehill.com thing that we're sharing with us. One thing that's interesting is to keep in mind, infiltration, not invasion. For future events, a lot of people are like, well, if there was a war between China and the United States, it would be tough because there's a billion people. And blah. It wouldn't be a ground war. It wouldn't happen like that. You infiltrate. That's the smart way to do it. That or, EMP, right? But otherwise, you want to leave infrastructure in place and then ideally leave the working class in place. Get them to a place where you can control them. Get them to a place where they'll do what you say. They'll submit to what you want. And then you own that entire economy. And the United States is a very wonderful economy to own. And China would love to own it. And we've got, it seems, a lot of political people in bed with many of the Chinese who are trying to sell this country to anybody. Lowest bidder, highest bidder. I'm not even sure. I would assume that some of these guys are fighting each other to who can get the cheapest. Like, I'll sell you those F-22 secrets for $10 million. I'm cheaper than so-and-so up the street, right? That's crazy. Infiltrate. To enter or become established in gradually or unobtrusively, usually for subversive purposes. To sneak your way in. You slowly take charge of this. You then take charge of that. You then take charge of this county, eventually this state. And then you take charge of, right? You infect, you invade, you unobtrusively move into an area and mess it up. It's funny, a lot of the states in the United States, blame Californians for when they move there and they raise the prices and become all liberal. But that's true. And that's how infiltration works. You send a bunch of people of that sort, and then their ideologies get spread. They start talking their nonsense, and all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people agree with that nonsense. And also, there's a military concept to it, which is to pass troops singly or in small groups through gaps in the enemy line to infiltrate the enemy, which also is somewhat apropos. So why is this all being brought up? This was the link that came up in that last post. Huma Abedin's ties to the Muslim Brotherhood seems to be coming up a lot right now. It's being brought to our attention anyways. And I think there's probably something to it, but the Clinton campaign is attempting once again to sweep important questions under the rug about top aide Huma Abedin, her family ties to the Muslim Brotherhood and to Saudi Arabia, and her role in the ballooning Clinton email scandal. Now this was from 2016, August, so this was right before everything started changing in the whole world, right before Trump became the president. But as you can see, not too far before that, when the little bit of BS that the FBI Comey was doing, saying, well, we're looking into things. Again, there's a lot of ties that never got brought up. And there's a very interesting concept of infiltrating from a group of people that don't particularly care about the United States, about our way of life, about any of our religious views, any of that kind of stuff. And I think, if I remember correctly, I forgot the part in here. There was a part in here that, I don't know, spoke of something else. But the long story short, I think Q's trying to bring the attention to the fact that this infiltration's been happening. People very close to the Clinton campaign, the original Bill Clinton, and all these people have been trying to move things along. Obama was certainly tied into the same Muslim Brotherhood. Again, there's just been a very interesting shift that's been attempted in our society. And finally, we've stopped it. The Patriots, we have really, truly stopped it. And now it's an issue of pushing past it. It's like tug of war, right? We've stopped them, and now it's an issue of we've actually got to pull this rope back our way. Post 4285. There's actually 3 posts in here that he shares with us. China wants to patent Gilead's experimental coronavirus drug. Gilead's interesting. I've done a little digging. We'll cover that slide here in a sec. Ultimately, China wants to use this drug to help. So now this is as of February 4th, 2020. So this is a while ago. China already gotten their hands on this drug. They've probably already tested it. It's probably where a lot of the people testing has happened. Chinese researchers have applied for a national patent on the experimental Gilead Science Inc. drug that they believe might fight the novel coronavirus. So right off the bat, there's this weird tie-in to billions of people, 1 being infected and 2 possibly, taking this virus, buying this experimental coronavirus drug. So one of the links that's posted with us is just pointing this out. Hey, look, by the way, and this goes back to February 5th. It's like Q's saying. Now, also, what's interesting, global health leaders launch a decade of vaccine collaborations. This is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is in all sorts of hot water all over the place right now. Certainly in Africa, they are probably something you can't actually say without having to immediately spit or being hurt for saying anything positive about these people. It's almost like liking Trump nowadays. It's kind of funny. Oddly, when we come down here and we look at the Leadership Council, was it the Leadership or the Steering Committee? Fauci, here he is. There you go. New. Leadership Council. Dr. Fauci is tied into the Melinda Gates Foundation. Isn't that a little strange? Almost seems like there's a tie-in to some sort of, he shouldn't be involved here. So the scientific board for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, when we look on it, once again we see Dr. Fauci showing up on the Bill and Melinda Gates Scientific Board. Bill and Melinda Gates has been one of the biggest vaccine pushers in the world, has been pushing a lot of them to Africa, and not making any claims or statements about the actual vaccines themselves, but there's a number of countries that actually have suits, I believe, opened up against Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation right now. Gilead Sciences, Inc., I was so wanting to find, digging into this, I'm going to be like, one of the board members or something is going to be Fauci. It wasn't. I mean, I just wanted to cover that right now because that popped into my head. No, I'm hoping the Anons can find something cool because didn't find it there. I was really hoping. I was hoping that we were going to find that Fauci was tied in monetarily. Gilead Sciences, again, what is it? BATS, I guess, is their... Oh, no, GILD is their NASDAQ emblem or whatever. I forget the word they use. So, I don't know. Stock's doing all right. I think it's talked about some of the biggest holders, Vanguard Group, which is an interesting group. It's a name that comes up frequently. Whatever. Tried to do some digging. Dr. Anthony Fauci, stock holdings, public records. A lot to search on, but trying to see what I could find. I did find a couple articles that were interesting. Fact check thing. Does Anthony Fauci have millions invested in a coronavirus vaccine? This was something that was running around Facebook. Seems to be untrue. I'm not saying it's not saying it is. Seems to be untrue for sure. So apparently no. Apparently he doesn't have a bunch of stocks. But one thing that was interesting, someone that was giving Fauci grand credit. He's such a brilliant, wonderfully smart guy. So a year ago, this is him quoting. This is Dr. Fauci talking. I can't do his accent. My Boston accent's probably, or New York accent sucks. I always say something semi-facetious when people ask me that. We worry about so many things when we are awake that we're so tired that nothing keeps us up at night. But notwithstanding that, the thing I am most concerned about as an infectious disease physician and as a public health person is the emergence of a new virus that the body doesn't have a background experience with. That is a very transmissible, highly transmissible from person to person, and has a high degree of morbidity and mortality. Now, what I've essentially done is paint the picture of a pandemic influenza. What? A year before it happens, you're basically describing it? And then on top of that, we've got China wanting to get the virus, this thing beforehand, this brand new experimental, still patented drug that's owned by a company that's tied in with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and this wonderful Gilead Sciences Inc. That's just so strange. It just seems like a lot of coincidences. I'm sure that's all it is, just a bunch of coincidences. Post 4286, got a YouTube video here. I'll put this link below because there's a lot of really good stuff in this. I'm 100% sure I'm not okay to play this. There's a Twitter that I will play because it's played through there. These are audio recordings of conversations between Joe Biden. What's this one here? Brennan. The conversation, John Kerry and Petro Poroshenko. We've got Joe Biden and Poroshenko, a couple of them, I believe. A whole bunch of these have been dropped on this particular channel that Q posts here for us in 4286. Very good stuff. Again, I'm going to play one of them. It's like a 2-minute segment. It's actually pretty cool. Post 4287, got another Twitter post here. This is pretty cool. So this has actually gone on the news. I saw it on Fox as well, so they were quick to jump on this. But this bottom paragraph, D-class paragraph, this paragraph down here was D-class. This is an email to Susan Rice. She's seeing this Curtis Reed person, but it's from Susan Rice. When do you send something from yourself to yourself, or forward, as they sometimes would say, though the subject doesn't show forward in it like it does currently. This is older technology, so that might not have happened back then. I don't believe it did. But this last paragraph, or this paragraph that they declassed, Director Comey affirmed that he is proceeding by the book as it relates to the law enforcement. From a national security perspective, Comey said he does have some concerns that incoming NSA Flynn is speaking frequently with Russian Ambassador Kislyak. Comey said that could be an issue as it relates to sharing sensitive information. President Obama asked if Comey was saying that the NSC should not pass sensitive information related to Russia to Flynn. Comey replied, potentially. Quotes. He added that he has no indication thus far that Flynn has passed classified information to Kislyak, but he noted that the level of communication is unusual. So based off of unusual communication, which could have tied into the fact that there is a whole slew of bad blood that they've been doing, bad mojo that they've been doing against Russia with Ukraine, that now all of a sudden some of that info might come back and they need to put a stop to that. I think that's some of the dead bodies that they keep saying Flynn knows about. I think he's speaking directly to some of the dead bodies. Comey said he has some concerns that this guy knows too much, basically. So I think we should stop telling him stuff, basically. Not okay. This was the incoming president of the United States, voted in by the people, and they've said, no, we're going to keep secrets from you. Don't worry about that. You don't need to know. You're just the president.
Joe Biden. Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Your call has been convened. Petro, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's better.
I can hear you better too. I'm sorry.
No problem.
You were saying, I missed what you were saying.
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm very happy to hear you. Second, this is very valuable for me that you find out the time for me even in Minnesota. And I'm dreaming some days to be with you in Minnesota.
That's easy, man. I tell you what, I'd like to be with you instead of Minnesota right now, but go ahead.
The third, I have some positive and negative news. I will start with the positive news.
Well, good.
Joe, I have a second positive news for you. Yesterday, I met with the
All right, I'm going to kill that because that's just way the hell too long. But yeah, basically next I have the prosecutor, Shokin. I asked him to resign. He then says something to the effect of, and despite the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information, we don't have any wrongdoing, I still asked him to do this, right? So I specifically asked him, no. It was a day before yesterday, right, because just remembering stuff. Specifically asked him to resign position to state person. He had some troubles bringing English into it. Nice kudos to anybody that can speak more than one language, because I can barely speak English. And despite of the fact that he has a support in the power, and as a finish to my meeting with him, basically said he promised me to give me the statement on resignation, and 1 hour ago he'd bring me the written statement of his resignation. So this talks about how Poroshenko was telling him how Shokin had quit the job or been resigned, whatever, right? And that was the whole thing behind proving that Biden was tied into this illegal thing. Again, a lot of illegality is being pointed out. They didn't like the fact that Flynn was finding out about it and probably being asked to do something about it. And Biden's a dirty, dirty person that's losing his freaking mind anyway. So we'll see how this all plays out. But again, it's very interesting what's going on. I have the link to that YouTube channel below. I know I sometimes forget to put the links. That one I will actually put in there because I think it's important. I think you guys should check it out. There's some really good stuff in there, and they're not really long. They're little short segments so people can handle that. Post 4288, we got another Twitter post here. Got Mr. Hannity. What happened to the U.S. president in the 2016 election and throughout the first 2 years of his election was apparent. It was a grave injustice and was unprecedented in American history. We saw two different standards of justice emerge. This is actually a cool little minute-and-a-half segment. Let's check it out.
Breaking today, this is important. The Attorney General, Bill Barr, said Joe and Barack, they may not likely face persecution in the Durham probe as of now. Okay. Now, while the media mob is, well, visibly breathing a collective sigh of relief, they're actually missing the powerful message from the Attorney General. Pay very close attention because the headline of what his remarks were missed by most people in the mob. Take a look.
Over the past few decades, there have been increasing attempts to use the criminal justice system as a political weapon. What happened to the president in the 2016 election and throughout the first 2 years of his administration was abhorrent. It was a grave injustice, and it was unprecedented in American history. We saw two different standards of justice emerge, one that applied to President Trump and his associates, and the other that applied to everybody else. We can't allow this ever to happen again. The Durham investigation is trying to get to the bottom of what happened.
All right, the Attorney General is right. Those are powerful words. If you listen to them, we must never allow this to happen again. All must be held accountable. The country as we know it, it doesn't exist. And breaking today, this is important.
Yeah, we're creating a huge problem for ourselves. It's one of the many things that we've got to keep our attention focused on. We've got to let these things play out. We've got to let some things happen. We've got to let some people kind of show their hands. But we've also got to kind of follow some of these leads, too. And we've got some great anons that are doing some fantastic research that are digging into things. Final post here. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's the hare and the rabbit, or the tortoise and the rabbit, that wonderful fable in Aesop's fables. It's about the long haul. It's about the long run. It's about the long path, the long plan. And when we can keep that in mind, when we can remember that there is a plan to this, that things are unfolding, that it's got a crescendo up by the election. So whatever the case is, the true fireworks show is going to be in October. October is going to be an exciting month. So again, allow this to build. Take the things as they come. Again, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Drip, drip, drip is going to lead to a dam rupture. This is incredible. We're in week 3 of Boom Week. A lot has already come out, and it's freaking only Tuesday, right? Let's see what else happens. And we're going to go ahead and do a quick refresh on the Q post page here because he has added another post. And he's reposting, it looks like, something here. Let's just do a quick pull this in and see what we got. We got some stuff in here. So the origin country, COVID-19, China. We've talked about this many times. Wuhan, how long did they lock down versus how long are we? We're forever. Wuhan was 76 days, by the way, which was the epicenter. 16 days for most of China, how long they locked the things down. And how long has the U.S. been locked down? Seriously, at this point still. How long has the U.S. been locked down? We're 3 months? 2 months? I don't even remember anymore, right? I've had like 14 birthdays since the last time I remember going out and hugging someone in public. It's outrageous what's going on in the world. Hydroxychloroquine was used in Shanghai as the first line of treatment. And that was one of the things they pointed out in this particular article. And this Shanghai group, by the way, also donated a bunch of these tabs, I want to call them, these tablets, to France for their testing. So again, a lot's going on. So hydroxychloroquine was used in Shanghai as well as the first line of treatment. USA lockdown versus China lockdown. Non-Wuhan days. Okay, 16. And Wuhan days, we're probably even pushing past that, or getting real close. Mainstream media, the Democrats, vested interest in censoring and attacking anything regarding HCQ. Why? And one of the things that they're definitely trying to point out, and Trump's trying to, I think, break through a lot of the barriers of being able to block people from talking about it, is saying, I'm taking it. So now President Trump's taking HCQ. Now it's news. Now it's okay to talk about. Now we're not making claims. Now it's legitimate. The presidential doctor has suggested that he take this medication. So kind of what's being pointed out here. Again, Q is doing an amazing job bringing information to us, but he can't tell us anything secret that the deep state doesn't know. They're looking at these boards too. We've got to figure things out. We've got to read between the lines. We've got to get lucky in our own regards. And who knows, maybe the deep state's watching some of our videos because we're the ones figuring it out. But that's the fun of this entire movement. Keep moving along with us. Hopefully you guys are enjoying what we're doing. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.